Hello world, this is Joe Strout. There's a pretty big Mini Micro user community now, so I thought this might be a good time to talk about some of the ways in which you can customize the Mini Micro environment to suit your own preferences. So let's dig right in. Normally when you first launch Mini Micro, you get a screen that looks like this. You get the standard welcome message on a black background, and the text is orange, and the prompt is this little right square bracket. Now I don't have anything special on my user disk except I have preloaded a background image, so let's take a look at that with the view command. This is just some image I found on the internet, and I picked something that's pretty dark and fairly uniform so that you'll be able to read text on top of it. So let's first talk about how you can make this the background image. And we want to do this not just manually each time we launch Mini Micro, but we really want it to happen automatically whenever we boot the machine. So how do we do that? We do that by making a custom startup script. Now if you look in the sys directory, there's a startup.ms file there, and this runs automatically when the machine boots. And that defines things like the color module, and it prints the welcome message at the top of the screen, and so on. After the sys startup.ms script runs, the machine will look for a startup.ms script on the user disk. So let's create one of those. I'm just going to edit. I don't have a previously loaded program, so we start fresh. And I'm just going to change the backmost display, which is display 7, to pixel mode. And then I'm going to draw that image that we just looked at. So display 7 image, file.load image, and it's called background.png. And I'll hit Control W to get out. And if we run that, it does not do what we expected. I've forgotten a step. It set display 7 to be the background, but the problem is we still have this graphics display, which is display 5. And unless we clear that to a transparent color, we can't see display 7. So let's go ahead and add that. And I'm going to just copy this, and edit, paste. Oops, I copied a little too much. And now let's try running that again. This time I'll just use the run button. And it seems like that did it. Let's just be sure by clearing everything back to the defaults and then run. Yep, that did the trick. Right now that program is just in memory. We want it to run on startup, so let's save it as startup. You can see we have a startup.ms on our user disk now. So now let's just shut the machine down, relaunch it, and you can see it came up automatically with this background. Now, one problem is if we clear, it's going to get rid of that background. So what can we do about that? Well, let's edit our startup script again. Notice it's not in memory. If we were to edit now, it's not there. The startup script is run, but then it's cleared. So we have to load startup and edit. So what we really want to do is replace the standard clear function with our custom clear function. So what I'm going to do here is jump over to the startup disk actually and look at the source code for the standard clear function, which is in the system startup disk. So let's load sys startup, edit that, let's find clear, there it is, and it clears and resets all the displays. And you can see it's setting display mode, display 5 mode to pixel, and it's clearing it to this almost black, non-transparent color. So we're going to replace this. Let's copy this code, close it, and go back to the startup script on the user disk. Oops, get the cursor there, and paste. And we're just going to make a little change. We are going to clear display 5 to color.clear. And then we're going to do these changes to display 7. So instead of being a solid color, it's now going to load our standard background image. Everything else will be as it always was. So I'm going to hit Command S to save, Command W to exit. If we run this now, we have that, and if we clear, it clears, but it keeps our background image. So that's kind of fun. Let's make sure we save our changes. Now let's go a little bit further. Let's also do a custom text color. And that's pretty easy. We'll just do text.color equals something that's going to show up well on dark blue. Actually, orange works pretty well, but just to demonstrate a different color, let's try color.pink. Or of course, you could use a hex color like this. Whatever. But I'm just going to go with color.pink. All right. Now we have pink text on the blue background. That's looking pretty good. Let's just go a little bit farther. Since this is the startup script, we can do anything we want to happen when the machine starts up. We could, for example, print a nice welcome message. Could have it say, "Hello, Joe." And how about we have it display the current date and time? We'll import the date time module and print it's now, date time.now, and a blank line, and then maybe happy coding, another blank line. So let's save all that, exit, and I'm going to again shut the machine down, relaunch it, and it keeps launching by default on the other screen. I have to drag it over so you can see it. And there we go. We have pink text on a pretty scenery background saying the greeting and the current time and happy coding. One more thing before we stop for today, and that's this prompt. In Mini-Micro, it's a square bracket. If you've used command line Miniscript in Unix or Linux or Windows, you may have noticed it uses an angle bracket prompt like this instead of the square bracket. Maybe you like the angle bracket prompt. How can you change that? Well, you do that via an entry in the environment map, env. This env map is a built-in global variable that has various options for the environment, including the prompt and the more prompt, which is displayed when you're in the middle of a for loop or something and it's waiting for more input. And you can change those. So let's again load our startup script, and edit, and let's just come in here and change the prompt. We'll go with the angle bracket style that maybe you're used to from command line Miniscript. So it's prompt and more prompt. These could be anything, but we'll just do this for the sake of illustration. Save it, let's clear and run. All right, and this obviously would happen in the same way when you start up the machine. We now have an angle bracket prompt. And if I do a for loop, something like this, you can see when we're in the middle of a for loop, we get the more prompt, which is 3 dots, until we end it. And there we go. So to recap, we've talked about, and I guess I should bring up the code while I talk about it, how to change the background image of your display, and how to make sure that that stays changed by putting in a custom clear function, how to change the text color, and then how to print a custom greeting, and finally, how to change the prompt. So now you know a lot of ways that you can customize Mini-Micro and make it your own, and I hope you have fun with it. Happy coding!